I'm 76. These 4 talks saved me from regret, and they might save you too. Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night, not because you were in pain or worried about your health, but simply wondering, did I say what I needed to say? Did I have the conversations that really mattered? It's a quiet kind of thought, the kind that creeps in as we get older. The truth is, after 70, life tends to get a little quieter, but also a little sharper. We start noticing what's been left unsaid, and sometimes that silence can grow into regret if we're not careful. You see, most people think aging is about doctor visits, joint pain, or trying to remember where you left your glasses. But honestly, one of the biggest changes is emotional. It's in the space between us and the people we love. The things we never said, the thank yous we never gave, the questions we never asked. That's why today we're diving into something a little deeper, something more personal. We're going to talk about 4 important conversations you absolutely must have after 70. Not because someone told you to, but because if you don't, you may one day look back and wish you had. These aren't complicated, heavy talks that require a therapist or a family meeting. They're simple, real conversations, but they have the power to lift a weight off your heart, to reconnect you with the people who matter, and most importantly, to give you peace, because if there's one thing we all deserve as we age, it's peace of mind. Let's begin with the first one. It's the conversation we often avoid the most, the one about your wishes. And no, I'm not just talking about a will or legal documents, though those matter too. I'm talking about having an honest, heart-to-heart with your loved ones about how you want to live the rest of your life and how you want to be cared for if you ever can't speak for yourself. It doesn't sound like a fun topic. Nobody enjoys picturing themselves in a hospital room or being unable to make decisions. But that's exactly why it's so important to talk about it now, when you're healthy and clear-headed. Because if that moment ever comes, and let's face it, for many of us it might, your family will be scrambling to figure out what you would have wanted, and they may not get it right. Not out of neglect, but out of confusion. So take the time to sit down with your adult children or a trusted friend and say, "Ost, if something ever happens to me, this is what I want." Be clear. Talk about the kind of care you'd be comfortable with, whether you'd want to be at home. What matters to you most: independence, comfort, dignity. Share it all. Don't wait for a crisis, because once the storm hits, it's too late to build a shelter. Now, the second conversation is one that tends to sneak up on us. It's with someone you've known a long time, someone who might have hurt you, disappointed you, or simply drifted away. I'm talking about making peace with the past. Forgiveness isn't about saying what happened was okay. It's about freeing yourself from carrying it. Let me ask you something. Is there someone in your life you haven't spoken to in years? Not because you can't, but because pride got in the way? Maybe it was an argument with a sibling. Maybe it was something your son-in-law said 15 years ago that still lingers. Or maybe it was even your own mistake. You meant to apologize, but time just kept slipping by. And now here you are, older, wiser, and wondering, is it too late? It's not. It's never too late. I once spoke to a woman named Carol who hadn't spoken to her sister in over a decade. They had a falling out over their parents' estate, something so common it almost feels cliché. Carol told me she thought about picking up the phone every birthday, every Christmas, every time she saw a family photo. But she never did, until one day she had a health scare that shook her to the core. That very evening she made the call. She told her sister, "I don't even remember what we were fighting about. I just miss you." They cried, they laughed, and they started fresh. You don't have to have a dramatic reunion. Sometimes all it takes is a letter, a voicemail, a simple, "Hey, I've been thinking about you." You'd be amazed what a few brave words can do, not just for them, but for you. Because when you clear out those emotional cobwebs, you make space for something beautiful. Peace, connection, and closure. And here's the thing. At this stage in life, we don't need to carry around old weight. Our hearts deserve to be light. And if that means making the first move, being the one to say, "Let's talk," then so be it. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. And as we continue, we'll explore more conversations that hold just as much power. Conversations that might not be urgent today, but will become deeply important tomorrow. Because when we choose to speak up now, we protect ourselves and our loved ones from the silence that regret can bring. Let's keep going. We've talked about speaking your wishes and letting go of the past. Those two alone can lift a heavy weight from your shoulders. But there's another conversation that's just as essential, maybe even more so. And this one is about your legacy, not the kind that lives in bank accounts or property deeds, but the kind that lives in the hearts of the people you love. Have you ever thought about how your story will be remembered? I'm not talking about a biography or a newspaper obituary. I mean the stories you tell at the kitchen table, the lessons you pass down when nobody's really asking questions, but you share them anyway because you've lived through it and you know it matters. After 70, you have decades of life experience, stories filled with courage, mistakes, laughter, heartbreak, and everything in between. That wisdom, it's priceless. Yet too often we assume our children or grandchildren aren't interested. They're too busy, we say. They wouldn't understand. But the truth is they crave those stories, even if they don't realize it yet. Because one day they'll face something hard, a job loss, a broken relationship, a moment of doubt, and they'll think back to something you said, maybe a simple line, back when I was your age. That can echo in their hearts louder than anything they'll hear on the internet or in a book. So here's the conversation. Share your story, sit with your loved ones and talk, not just about where you were born or what job you had, but about what you learned, what you regret, what you do differently, and what you wouldn't change for the world. Tell them about the time you were scared and did it anyway, about how you met your spouse, about the time you failed and what it taught you. Better yet, invite them in. Ask them to record it. Make a little family video. Write letters. It doesn't have to be polished or fancy. It just has to be you. Your voice, your memories, your heart. That's what they'll treasure when you're gone. I know someone who started something called Thursday Talks with her grandchildren. Every Thursday evening, she'd call them just one at a time, and they'd chat for 20 minutes. Sometimes they'd talk about school or sports. Other times she'd say, "Let me tell you what happened when I was 16. And those conversations, they became a family tradition. Long after she passed, those calls became legendary in the family. They even compiled them into a book. All because she decided to start sharing. You don't need a big production. You just need your truth and the courage to share it. Now, there's one more conversation that might surprise you, and that's the one about joy. Yep, joy. After all the seriousness of health plans, forgiveness, and family history, this one might seem a little out of place. But stay with me because it just might be the most important one of all. You see, after 70, a lot of folks start to slow down, not just physically, but emotionally. We fall into routines. We tell ourselves, I've had my fun, or that part of life is behind me now. But joy doesn't have an age limit. And the conversation you need to have, the one that could wake something up inside you, is about what still brings you joy, what lights you up, what makes your eyes sparkle, even if just for a moment. So talk to your loved ones. Say, you know what I miss? I miss dancing, or painting, or playing cards with friends. Maybe it's gardening. Maybe it's going to the beach. Maybe it's just sitting at the diner, drinking coffee and people watching. Whatever it is, speak it out loud. Claim it. Because here's the secret. When you name the joy that still lives in you, people listen. They want to help you feel it again. But they can't know unless you say it. I once met a man in his early 80s who told me, I stopped going fishing 10 years ago because my knees started acting up. But I still dream about it. I miss the silence of the water. And I asked him, did you ever tell your family? He looked at me and said, no, I didn't think they'd care. Well, he told them that week. And guess what? That Saturday, his grandson showed up with a folding chair, a fishing pole, and a cooler. They didn't go far, just a little lake nearby. But that man said it was the best day he'd had in years, all because he finally shared what brought him joy. We spend so much time taking care of everyone else, especially as parents, grandparents, caregivers. but you still deserve joy, even now, especially now. So have that conversation, not just for your sake, but for the people who love you. They want to see you happy. They want to know what makes your heart sing. Give them the gift of that knowledge. Because here's what happens when you do. Joy becomes contagious. When your loved ones see that spark in your eye, it reminds them to seek their own joy. You start this ripple effect, one that might carry through generations. Let's keep going. You've spoken your truth, you've made peace, you've shared your story, and reclaimed your joy. And as we reach this final stretch of the conversation, there's one last piece that quietly ties it all together. Something deeply human that we all need, even if we don't say it out loud. It's the conversation about how you want to be remembered. Now, that might sound a little somber at first, but it's not meant to be. This isn't about saying goodbye. It's about shaping what people will hold on to long after you're gone. It's not about the photos or the possessions. It's about the impression you leave behind. The feeling people get when they hear your name. The way your grandchild might smile when they tell someone, "You know what my grandma always used to say? You don't have to be famous or extraordinary to leave a legacy. You just have to be you, fully and unapologetically." And you get to shape that by having one final, honest conversation with yourself and with the people closest to you about the values you live by, the lessons you hope they carry forward, and the kind of example you want to set. Start simple. Say it out loud. I want to be remembered as someone who was kind, someone who showed up for the people they loved, someone who kept learning even in old age. Or maybe I want my grandkids to say, "She always made me feel heard." Whatever it is, speak it into the world, not for vanity, not for control, but for clarity, for peace, because when we name what matters most to us, we start living by it more intentionally, more clearly, and more fully. You can even write it down. Not a will, not a formal document, but a simple letter, something from your heart. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just write as if you were sitting across from someone you love, holding their hand and saying, "Here's what I hope you remember about me." That letter could be one of the most treasured things you leave behind. More than any heirloom, more than any savings account. And if there are people you haven't told lately how much they mean to you, do it. Don't wait. Say the words. "I love you. I'm proud of you. You've made my life better." Those aren't just nice things to say. They're gifts, and at this point in life, you have a treasure chest full of them to give. A friend of mine, her name was Evelyn, once told me, the older I get, the more I realize that love, not time, is what really runs out. That stayed with me, because it's true. We don't regret the time we spent watching TV or running errands. We regret the moments we didn't take to say the things that mattered. So say them now. And while you're at it, make space to listen too. The beautiful thing about these conversations is that they're never one way. When you open your heart, other people do the same. You might find that your children have questions they were too nervous to ask, that your friends have memories they've been waiting to share, that your partner still wants to hear about your dreams. Even now, the truth is, after 70, life doesn't end. It just shifts. And if you're lucky, it deepens. You start to see what really counts, not the awards, the titles, the busy calendars, but the quiet moments, the hand-holding, the laughter, the stories passed down over dinner, the forgiveness shared between siblings, the soft kind of courage it takes to be open, even after years of silence. And when you look back someday, you'll know that you didn't leave things unsaid, that you were brave enough to speak up, to connect, to tell your truth, to ask the questions that matter. And that kind of life, that's a rich life. So if you've been waiting for the right time to have these conversations, let me say this. This is the time. Not tomorrow, not next month, now. Because the longer we wait, the heavier the silence becomes. But the moment you break it, that's when healing begins. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. You don't need fancy words, just honest ones. Because when all is said and done, people won't remember every detail, but they'll remember how you made them feel. They'll remember your voice, your smile, the comfort in your words. And if you've made it this far in this video, it tells me one thing loud and clear. You care. You care about living with purpose, about being the kind of person who finishes strong, with heart, with clarity, and with love. So thank you for spending this time with me. I hope this has sparked something in you, a memory, a reflection, a sense of courage. If it has, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us what conversations you've had or still want to have. We're a community here, and your story might just inspire someone else to speak their truth. And if this video helped you in any way, please don't forget to click like, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to the channel. We've got more conversations coming your way, real talk, for real life at any age. Because you're not done yet, far from it. You've still got love to give, stories to tell, and wisdom to share. Here's to living your best life at any age. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. If this video gave you something to think about or made you smile, please give it a like, share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe for more wisdom every week. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and join the conversation. Your voice matters. Your story matters. Until next time, stay wise, stay kind, and take care.